2, 1, live. Stefano, we did it. I'm so happy to have this chat with you because usually when I see big brands jumping into the metaverse, gaming, NFTs, I always think, I don't know. Sometimes I have the feeling that they don't really have skin in the game. But when I saw you, I think it was the end of last year with the new unit that has been launched,
Yes.
and knowing a bit of your background, I thought, wow, I mean, Stefano, he knows about this stuff, and I'm really curious to understand what you're going to do. So I'm really happy about this conversation. Tell me, first of all, what are you focused on at the moment? Because you are on many different things, and maybe my audience would like to understand more.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for having this chat. I'm really pleased to be talking to you. You're definitely someone very credible in this environment. So I'm
Thank
glad
you.
I have the chance and the opportunity. So what I do, basically, I started a company 2 years ago called D Cave, focusing on gaming lifestyle experience. Our initial idea was to focus on generating physical spaces for gamers to meet, come together, and find all the best things and elements about their lifestyle. So, from actively participating into tournaments, meeting their reference talents, playing, of course, to finding also merchandise drops that are inside that environment. And thanks to DK, I got closer and closer to, of course, NFTs, Metaverse, Web3, the evolution. And our group, my family owns the OTB group, got very curious about the space, understood the new way of living that was coming from this new space. And we decided to open a dedicated company called BVX. That means Brave Virtual Experiences, that is bringing basically all of our brands into the virtual world. And for your public, if they don't know what OTB is a holding company of several brands in the fashion industry. So Diesel, Maison Margiela, Marni, Victor and Rolf, Jill Sander, Amiri. So if you want, I had a background in fashion, but I loved gaming, and through my startup, I was able to bring OTB into this new space.
That's interesting because what I notice is that it's very difficult to understand the space if you just read the news. You don't put your 100 hours of study. It's very, very easy to get an impulsive opinion about, I don't know, NFTs. In Italy, for instance, I see a lot of comments that are very negative about NFTs, or also in the gaming industry. I spoke with a friend the other day. He's a great game developer, so he's into the sector, and he was really against gaming NFT. And then I spoke with Justin Khan, the founder of Twitch, who is really pro gaming NFTs, because he said no, this is what everyone will have NFTs in gaming. So is a very interesting the kind of reactions. I don't know what's your perception there.
I think the blockchain technology is giving us an opportunity to certify, authorize, generate uniqueness inside the digital space. So, I think it's wrong to say that you are against it. It might not be your way of interacting with your public, but in the future, everything will be tokenized. Everything we want will be tokenized.
Yeah.
But it's just a natural, evolution, I think, from acquiring tickets to go to the movie theater, concerts, to art, to abilities inside video gamings. Everything will be basically an NFT. So um, for me, it's difficult to not see this coming. I would understand if someone choose not to do it, but the public is going to ask, because it's going to be a new way of interacting and using things and benefits.
There is a very interesting interview that I watched last week. Mark Zuckerberg with, I think Lex Friedman was the interviewer. And And Zach, I have to say that, of course, he's very smart. I mean, he's trying to launch his Zuckerverse, or I don't know how you call it. I mean, everything in the world of Zuckerberg is around his vision, of course. But the point was that, of course, we are, in a sense, already in the metaverse. I mean, we are in a metaverse in this moment. We never met, and we meet here in this digital screen, and we have this communication. And the more time we spend on digital, the more the digital objects are very important. So if I go in a chat with you, what is digital there is important for me. Is important the number of the followers, is important the blue check on Twitter, is everything is important. So I think maybe people underestimate how much time they spend already on their phone every day. And their life is already digital a lot. And so it makes sense that, for instance, a fashion brand can sell a digital object and it's the same value for like a physical object.
Of course, and the more we go on, the more it will be like that. So already today, you know how many times it happens that you want to even filter yourself through a filter, through a
Yeah.
phone filter. It's just a normal thing. Your presence in the digital world has a meaning for you and the people around you. And Web2 taught us how important it was to generate your presence inside social media. And Web3 is just taking it to the next level. It's not only the picture you post or the comments you make, but it's all the objects you own, the art you own and you collect, is how your avatar looks, what it does. I really truly believe it's just a natural evolution. We're simply maintaining and growing that path that we already started walking 10 years ago with Web2 social media.
Tell me, Stefano, how is structured this new company? I mean, what kind of roles, skills you have inside? What kind of hiring are you planning to do? How does it work?
Yes. So basically, the company started with one clear aim. We need to become a production company for the brands of the group. Right now, we're very lean because we started just a few weeks ago. So
Yeah,
we are a few people. Not saying the number because it's ridiculous.
right.
And
It's a
but our
startup.
is a startup. But our approach is it's always going to be lean because we believe capabilities are out there for a grab. So you don't need necessarily to hire people anymore. You can work with amazing partners, amazing competent people without necessarily having them at full paycheck. Plus, there is another thing to say that basically the more we go on, we realize that Web3 people, for instance, like community managers, 3D designers, they don't want to be hired by a company. They rather work as independent and, develop their own company. So there
Right.
is a very different mentality. It's not like 20 years ago that you had a strong brand and people wanted to work, for that brand to get some level of security. Now kids want to be entrepreneurs. They want a piece of the cake. So they're really after that participation, that collaboration, but not necessarily being full-time employee. And that's the way we're going. So we're looking, by the way, the two people we're really looking for now are community manager, so
Right.
hard to find, and
Yes.
3D and tech design. Yeah.
The community manager and people like Discord specialist, Discord bots consultant. I mean, it's incredible. This is a job that 5 minutes ago didn't even exist, and now is so important. I was chatting with Boy George, and that launched his own NFTs, and I think he got like 7 moderators on his Discord. I have 5 on my Discord. I mean, it's a job. It's 24 hours a
Yeah.
day. People keep writing and interacting on Discord like crazy. So that's really an interesting new job. Another thing, Stefano, I was curious about what you said. Everything will be tokenized. That we want to tokenize. It's interesting because the incentives in that situation, for instance, for someone who work with you, is Yeah, that he can
Okay.
have a token of the project, so it's sort of equity in the project, and that changed completely his approach. It was possible before, you could give shares of a company, but it's much more complicated. Like this, I got token if or NFTs if the project goes good. Great. I mean, it's a new dynamic there. What do you think?
100%. And I think it's giving value to the token owners, but as well to the companies, because you know that the people that are working on that specific project can basically leverage and generate value for themselves and the company right away. So it's the same logic of a shareholder, but in this case, you feel you have much more impact because big organizations are big. Your job probably has an impact, but it's very hard for you to see the
Yeah.
value creation. Here we're all in a small organization, so if you work properly and you are able to grow a community or design a great wearable, you see it right away, and the value that you generate around that NFT or that project is right in your hands. So it's quite fascinating. But I think what's really fascinating about Web3 is this logic of value generation that is spread across all users. So even whoever generate projects, they don't only want to make money. Yes, of course, maybe they're after that, but for them what's important is to generate value for their users and their fan base. And I think that's the game changer here that is really
Mm.
driving a lot of attention to this word.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a different way. I was thinking of doing a video about principles. What are the principles that are moving you? And in Web3, I talk with so many people who first they're already billionaire, so they don't need money. I mean, the founder of Cardano or the CZ from Binance, they're already rich. They don't need money. So they want to do things in a different way, and they don't like the fact that, I don't know, web is centralized. They want more the decentralization. So it's a different principle that they play by, and it's not an economic incentive there. And most of the people don't get it because there is a lot of speculation around probably
Sure.
crypto and NFT. Question I was curious about. Imagine that you go to a fashion event, a traditional fashion event, and there are all of the people in fashion there, okay?
Hmm.
And you are keynote speaker and say, all right, there is this Web3 world, and here are, let's say, the top 3 opportunities. Where do you start from? Do you start with the Metaverse, the NFT, what?
In a traditional fashion show,
Yeah, like with traditional people working in fashion, marketing director of fashion companies, CEOs. How would you
I,
convince them to jump on
I
board, and where should they start from?
yeah, I believe it's kind of all connected. So if you're a very good marketer, or I don't even like to say that, if you're a very good person inside this space, you'll bring a project that has the 3 of them. So an NFT component, a wearable component, a metaverse component. And that is what really creates also a solid project. If it's only a portion of it, great, it might work, it's fine enough. But if you really want to generate value for the users, you need to bring more than just one utility. So I would approach with a project that is kind of more rounded. And by the way, it's the same thing that we're doing with our drops, with BVX, but also with DK, my startup. We really try to build projects that have a full scope, so users can go from uh, owning an NFT, utilizing that item or that tool inside a metaverse, but also maybe link it to a physical product, because that's the nice part about the fashion industry, is that you can connect the two. So sky's the limit there, but I think you need to have a very rounded approach.
I like it because until this moment, probably a lot of people thought about NFTs just like art, piece of art. There is an image. That's it. People, 60 million. That's the mainstream media storytelling. What I see more and more, smart companies are going for, let's say, an exploration of what kind of utilities NFT can offer to you. An object, access to events, experience. I mean, is a let's say, is a piece of code that allow you to do a lot of different, give you a lot of different access to different things. And I don't know why there are not so many companies already doing it. This I don't understand. Is do you think it's just because it's difficult to get it at the beginning? It's harder to.
Yeah, I think it's culture. So first of all,
Right.
to be frankly honest, this space is evolving at speed light, so
Yeah.
it's very hard to keep up. Even, I mean, myself, I don't know about yourself, but every day
Crazy.
there is so much happening. And I was having a discussion with a friend in this space. He said, weeks here are months, and it's true. And on the other side, you have an industry, the fashion industry, for instance, that months are weeks. So it's the other way around.
Yeah.
uh, to move an industry that is quite traditional, have long lead time, they're used to the same system, and getting them used to another type of environment that they need to understand first, study, and then also implement. It's not that easy. So I guess that's the real limitation now. It's because it was very far from what they're doing, and they are at a slow pace, and they don't. It's very hard for them to keep up with such changes in such fast time.
Do you think that, I mean, fashion is an industry that I think immediately started to understand that there could be some opportunity there in Web3. Do you see other industries that are interesting, that you think they will be next in the adoption?
Hmm. It's a good question. I've seen beverages, funny enough, that you think,
Right?
how come, beverages are into this space? I mean, that's the thing that you will never guess about on the metaverse. But true enough, they've been developing decent NFT projects, good spaces inside metaverses. So they are trying hard to find their own identity within the space. So that's a weird one. Who else? I know, then retail, it's also looking at this. So how can they develop their presence inside the metaverse is a big question mark. And there have been some good examples of linking of traditional buying. So for instance, you buy, I cannot mention the name, but you
Yeah,
buy into this supermarket, and whatever amount you make in there, you can participate, depending on how much you spend, you can participate to get access to X amount of mana into Decentraland
I see.
and the sandbox. So it's quite interesting. They're looking and trying. By the way, and I want to say that probably because they're so far out, they are also trying to experiment more than the traditional NFT projects that I think not everyone is being really evolving that much.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was curious about metaverse, and then I want to go into the 10th of March drop that you have. That is very interesting. I was curious about your decision process about metaverse, because where do you go in this moment? Do you build your own metaverse? You go on one specific one and you bet on one? You go all over? How do you approach the space?
Our approach is quite open. So the way we're trying to go is try to experiment as much as possible. So I want to work with everybody, honestly.
Right.
I have friends in all sides, and I think in this moment, historical moment, that no one is really taking over or becoming the point of reference, brands should really try and understand how they fit best in all the environments. I have very good relationship with the Decentraland, I have very good relationship with the Sandbox. Um, I wouldn't recommend brands to build their own just because it's a lot of investments, A, and B, it's hard then to bring people, and then C, is hard to keep people there
Yeah.
because you need to keep evolving the space. So I think that that's something that I wouldn't recommend. It's easier to work with existing one that have traffic, have a logic, have all the components to make your experience there successful.
And what about gaming?
Gaming, funny enough. So interesting. I started my experience around gaming because I really saw the cultural evolution, how it became a full entertainment system versus before it was an individual entertainment moment. Um, with Web3, I have to say it has a little bit, just a little bit, slow down in terms of visibility, in terms of hype, but I have the feeling it's gonna come back pretty
Hmm.
strong soon. Plus, most of the metaverses at the end are gaming platform. So the Sandbox, for me, even Fortnite, at some extent, Animal Crossing, they're kind of metaverses on their own. So it's quite interesting. So gaming is still there, and probably in the long run they're gonna be the platform also that are gonna stand the long way.